Good morning, everyone. I'm Barbara Stedgink, President of HASP, and it's great to have you with us on this May 2021 morning. It's hard to believe that we have been meeting this way for 12 months. Our first virtual monthly meeting was in June of 2020 when we held our annual meeting remotely. You might recall that it was recorded by Susan Timmer, who had just been hired as our program coordinator. She recorded a virtual tour of our new facility, which was hosted by Kim. Many of our members had not seen the facility before the shutdown, so this provided an opportunity for members to see the new space. Susan also recorded Larry Lynn, who was president at that time, and myself as we gave reports and conducted other organizational business remotely. Next month, we will hold our 2021 annual meeting, and it will come to you live from our classroom and welcoming center in Anderson Workman. We hope that you will attend this virtual meeting when we nominate members for positions of leadership, thank retiring committee members and leaders, and honor those members who have passed away since June 2020. Our annual meetings provide us with the opportunity to look back over the past year and celebrate the positive and innovative things that we have been able to do as a lifelong learning organization. Together, we will also look to the future. Unknown and tenuous as it may seem now, we can approach it with an eager spirit, anticipating opportunities to continue exploring and learning together in some familiar ways, but also in new ways. I hope that you will join us as we continue to move forward in our quest for knowledge, understanding, and being together. Our curriculum spring term is coming to an end in just a few weeks. But about the same time, the summer term catalog and calendar are scheduled to be sent out. The curriculum committee has approved 39 courses for the summer term, including 9 classes that will be small groups, in person and off-site. The subcommittees are now planning for fall 2021 term as well, and hope to offer several options of delivering courses, including Zoom only, in person in classroom, adhering to all protocols at that time, and finally, a hybrid that will have both in classroom and Zoom participants. This is our hope and our plan, and we will continue to keep everyone up to date as we move through the next few months. Our May newsletter included an invitation for HASP members to volunteer at the HASP Museum. If you would like to have more details about this service opportunities, please refer to the article in the May newsletter for contact information. Also, the Special Events Committee is working on plans for summer activities. They will be meeting later today, and we ask that you watch for constant contacts with details for any upcoming social events. Now this morning, I am pleased to introduce you to George Borichter. He is a new member of HAS, but he is not new to Holland or Hope College. George, his family, and company Sound Off Signal have made the Borichter Center for Calling and Career a reality on Hope's campus. We are looking forward to this morning's program to learn more about the center. And George will now introduce this morning's speaker. George?
Thank you very much, Barbara. I'm here with my wife, Sabella, and we are happy to introduce Sean Colburn. Sean joined Hope College staff in 2018 as the first executive director of the Borchter Center for Calling and Career. In his role, he is responsible for overseeing the creation and delivery of services to help students discern their career direction and then prepare for and pursue opportunities after college. Prior to joining Hope, Sean worked in a wide variety of business and industries, from startups to global leaders to industries healthcare, automotive, and technology. He recently served as a senior director of human resources for Spectrum Health, West Michigan's largest employer with over 26,000 employees. Sean is a 1994 graduate of Hope College, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and he met his wife in a German class. He also earned a master's degree in adult education and performance technology from the University of Michigan. An interesting tidbit is he came to work at Hope at the right time because his triplets are now all enrolled at Hope as freshmen. And with that, I'll turn it over to Sean Colburn, who will tell us about the work of this very interesting and to our family and company exciting opportunity. Sean?
Thank you so much, George. I really appreciate the introduction. And in addition, I just want to say thank you because I'm just so grateful to you and Sibylla for your vision, your support, and your ongoing friendship that's making the Borchter Center possible for our students. And so thank you so much for that. I'm grateful for the impact that you're having. Let me do one other shout out this morning to the parents of that girl that I met in German class, Barb and Maury Peterson. Thank you so much for letting me marry your daughter. Really appreciate it. So, all right, I'm so happy to be able to share today kind of an update on some of the things going on at Hope College. And what I wanted to specifically talk about was what the things we are doing to get students ready for the future of work. And this will be hopefully maybe some new things that maybe you haven't heard before, or maybe some things that you already know about. But I'm just excited to jump in and share some things that I'm excited about sharing. As a way to, I guess, kind of kick it off, I'd love to just give some additional information about the Borchter Center and some of the things that we do, just for additional reference. George, you kind of mentioned the high level. We are located in the middle of campus in the DeWitt Center. We are busy every day with one-on-one appointments with our students. And so these can be on ranges from topics from like, how do I decide what I want to major in? What should I do with my life? What are different career options? Getting resumes ready, getting cover letters ready, online profiles, internships, interviewing skills, and the like. So that is a big part of what we do. We do it in person in a normal year. This past year, it's been almost all virtual appointments. So this is a big part of what we do. We also partner with faculty in developing curriculum that get into these topics of calling and also career preparation. We do instructional workshops. And one thing that we've done a lot this past year has been including alumni as subject matter experts and presenters to our students. Of course, our connection with employers is a really important part of what we do as well. And so we have regular job fairs and we host employers on campus to interview our students. We do networking events with our alumni as well in local cities that are within driving distance. We're very active on social media, and I'm very proud of the success rates that we're having. So when I show these numbers down here, 93% of the class of 2020 was either employed or in grad school or doing voluntary service 6 months after graduation. So class of 2020, what a crazy time to graduate. And so we're very proud of that number for that class. And in the previous years, the previous 2 years of classes of graduates, it's been 96% both of those years as well. One of the things that's so much fun about being at Hope is our new president, Matt Scogan, has presented a vision for the college. And with that, he had 3 areas of focus. He's been talking about what Hope is doing to help students understand and take advantage of the future of learning. What are we doing to educate our students? How can we do that in a way that is looking forward? Another thing he wants us as a college to be in tune with is the future of work, so that we're preparing our students for that as well. And then finally, he's recognizing that the business model for higher education is not sustainable. Costs have ballooned, college is out of reach for too many people. So that's why he's looking to actively address the business model for higher education. And so there's going to be more coming out next month about our Hope Forward campaign to grow our endowment and treat that in a much different way than how endowments usually are treated, and instead encourage students to pay it forward with their money that they have and spend on their Hope education, where if we can make the tuition amount funded by our endowment, then students can be thinking very early about giving forward and giving back for the next generation. You'll hear more about that next month, I'm sure, but it's an exciting time to be here. It's an exciting vision for us to be involved in. And the good news is that this is actually connecting. The excitement around Hope College is building. We've had a really strong year just in terms of philanthropy to the college. I just got out of a meeting just now with a report and update on the enrollment for the fall, first-time students coming in for the fall. And we're over 840. That's the 4th highest amount ever in the history of the college. And last year's numbers were good. This year's numbers are even better. So it's a fun time to be here, a fun time to be a part of Hope. So what I want to focus on as we go through today is really this middle one here. It's the future of work. And now, okay, future of work. How do we know that? What's our point of reference for what the future is going to look like? Well, you know what? We actually have one. There's actually something we can look at in terms of understanding what the future work is going to be like. It's right here. It's just the Jetsons, right? I mean, you remember that show. And let me just say, I do appreciate being able to use this reference with you, because I'm pretty sure if I use this reference with our students, they would have no clue. Actually, as I was preparing these slides, my daughter was looking over my shoulder. I'm like, what are the Jetsons, right? So anyway, you can connect with me. So the Jetsons that show came out in 1962, and it was set 100 years into the future. So 2062 was supposed to be what the Jetsons world is showing. Now, the interesting thing is we are halfway past that mark. We're halfway there. And so how much of this has actually come to life for us in the Jetsons world? Well, we don't have flying cars, but I read an interesting article from just a couple of months back about the Jetsons and how the Jetsons actually predicted some aspects of our lives that have come true in the pandemic. So one of the things that happened in one of the episodes is that the son, Elroy, was sick. And so his mom, Jane, was able to just at the touch of a button, have a doctor show up on a screen. Now, in 1962, that sounded crazy, but think about that. I've done this. You may have done this, right? Telehealth is a pretty common thing that we've got going today. Another thing that happened in the Jetsons is the introduction to every one of their shows that showed George flying around and then dropping his kids off at school. And when he did so, he put a protective covering over top of them, which makes us think about the protective coverings and the masks and the shields that we've been wearing this past year. Well, they were seeing that in 1962. Another thing that has become a reality today, which they saw back then, was exercising at home. And Jane here is, watching the exercise person on her screen. And this is, maybe some of you have gotten involved in that through YouTube or through Zoom. I know my wife has been involved with that with Zealand Recreation, this exact thing. And so this has been something that we see as well. Another thing that is very common now is video calls. And through the pandemic, so many of us relied on these through FaceTime and through Zoom with family and friends. And so they were doing that back in the Jetsons time. And then also working from home. Poor George Jetson, he had a tyrant of a boss, Mr. Spacely. And even when George would try to be at home, his boss were able to turn on the screen and talk to him at home. And so back in the days, that's what was happening to the Jetsons. Now, the one thing that the Jetsons did get wrong is that the average or the standard work week for the Jetsons at that time was 9 hours long. So yeah, unfortunately for us, that one actually didn't come true. So let's go beyond the Jetsons though, and let's take a different look at what the future may look like, the future of work. Last year, some of my colleagues and I put together a lot of information based on research and predictions that we were seeing from experts in various aspects of the economy. And we tried to consolidate and come up with what are some themes that we're seeing. And we worked with President Scogin, and he presented these themes to the Board of Trustees last year. And let me just touch on what we saw as the themes for the future of work. Doing well by doing good. Creating communities to collaborate and innovate. Solving complex problems with a global mindset. Being uniquely human in an artificial intelligence world. And then developing the practice of lifelong learning. So I want to touch on each of these. I'm going to go through each of these today, and I'm going to share a little bit about what's happening at Hope. And I'm also going to share, as I do that, things that are happening out of the Boerchter Center that support this. Some of these things may be, and I'll share as we go, some of these things are just long-standing traditions, things that we've been doing at Hope for decades that have been and are continue to prepare students for the future of work. And then some other things are brand new, things that we've started even within the past year. So let's go through these. I'll start first with doing well by doing good. So this is a theme that continues to be an important one, and we start to see this. I think in the past year we started to see this even more. Organizations are realizing that it's more than just shareholder value. They're here for a purpose. They're here for looking for something, a greater good. It's not just the nonprofits that are mission driven anymore. Other organizations are really adopting this as a part of who they are. This is a quote from Larry Fink. He's the CEO of BlackRock, which is one of the world's largest investment management firms. And he noticed this: millennials, who today represent 35% of the workforce, express new expectations of the companies they work for, buy from, and invest in. So this is a part of something that really has been, we certainly see that continuing to grow and be an important issue. So what does this mean for Hope? So I actually think this taps into one of the deep traditions and really the mission of our college. We educate students for lives of leadership and service. And that just feeds right into this desire that organizations have to do good. In fact, I would probably say that a lot of the students that go through the halls of our buildings here, they are more focused on doing good than doing well financially. So I think this fits us really well. Through our classes, through off-campus opportunities, through research opportunities, and through extracurricular activities, our students are regularly learning more about these important issues that are facing the world. And then another very long-standing tradition at Hope has been our senior seminar program, in which students write a paper. It's called the Life View paper, which is a way for our students to cap off their college experience with a lot of time to reflect and think about what are the things that they're passionate about and concerned about. So as I go through these slides, the things on the top, and here the top 3 things are things that are just about Hope College in general. And then in the bottom part of the slide, I'll highlight things that we're doing at the Boerchter Center related to these as well. And for our office at the Boerchter Center, doing well by doing good, that plays out through our office's focus on calling. It's part of our name. It's right there in our title. We're the office, the Boerchter Center for Calling and Career. And it's a deliberate focus for us. And we really focus on helping our students discover what they're passionate about, discover this for themselves. We don't want to tell them what their causes should be. We want them to decide the things that they're passionate about. And so there's ways that we get involved with this right at the beginning. In our first year seminar program, it's the first class students take on campus. We have students read from a book called Let Your Life Speak by Parker Palmer. And a part of the class discussion gets into what are the things that just tap into your own interests and your gifts and your talents and your passions. That can continue with assessments that we offer with students and one-on-one appointments, like I mentioned earlier, that we can do with students to just meet them where they're at and really wrestle with some of these questions about discernment and then their calling. And then we have a course that we offer as an additional follow-up step for sophomores who are interested. It's called the second seminar, and that's based on a book called Design Thinking. And it really helps, Designing Your Life, which is a design thinking related publication, but it really helps students take the next step even further with that. In this photo, you'll see here on the right, this is one of our staff members, Megan. It's having a one-on-one conversation with our students. We're doing these every day, and it's just such a blessing, and we just enjoy so much being a part of those conversations with our students. The second thing I want to mention around the second theme for the future of work is creating communities to collaborate and innovate. So just looking at some of the things that are here on the slide, these stats, they emphasize that innovation is of critical importance to our executives from this survey as they think about their future. 80% see their business at risk of being disrupted. 84% consider their future success being very dependent on innovation, and 96% have designated innovation as a strategic priority for their organization. And one of the things that I do want to point out that as we say the word innovation, that's not a pseudonym for technology. In fact, there's a saying that I heard from Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, on his philosophy of innovation, and it's this. He said, it's in Apple's DNA that technology alone is not enough. It's technology married with the liberal arts, married with the humanities, that yields the results that make our hearts sing. And so, of course, for Hope, I love this, right? I love, and we would wholeheartedly agree that the liberal arts is an important part of innovation. And our students are doing that every day, finding interesting ways to collaborate, to learn how to collaborate and innovate. We involve students in research and scholarship. That's been a hallmark of the Hope education for probably since about as long as we've been around. And that certainly builds those skills. The Department of Economics and Business is running an entrepreneurship program with classes and programs to tap into some of that passion and drive some students may have around that. And then we have a new office that has just started within the last year called the Office of Possibilities. It's led by Dave Van Wylen. He's the former Dean of Natural and Applied Sciences. And he's involving students and looking for interesting ways to be an incubator for new ideas for the college and even the community. At the Boerchter Center, we are having a lot of fun taking those ideas and then going even further with them, taking this idea of collaboration, innovation out into the community so that our students can connect with others outside of the college. One really good example of this is the Center for Leadership Student Consulting Program. So in January of this year, the Center for Leadership became a part officially of the Boerchter Center. So that includes the leadership minor for the college, and includes leadership development retreats that we do occasionally throughout the year with different student groups. And it includes the student consulting program. And this involves, we have every semester, multiple groups of students, 3 or 4 students together with oftentimes a retired executive who's their coach. And they work together to actually solve a real problem for either a business or a nonprofit during that whole semester. Research, propose solutions. It's a very common thing. This is a photo from just last week. I attended the final presentation for a group of students. The students, the 4 young ladies in the front, 2 of them are engineering majors, 2 of them are business majors. And the work they were doing was for an organization, a local organization called Gyra Metal Products, sorry. And Gyra hired them to do an automation feasibility study of the operations within their facility. And these students had the help of a subject matter expert. Particularly in this case, it was a person from Copes Engineering. And we had a photo here after the presentation, just showing the group all together with some executives from Gyra. So I love this, right? This is students actually doing collaboration and innovation. Just today, I just have to read this. Just before I got on today as well, I got an email from a student who is also involved in one of these projects. And I'm sorry. Okay, so this should be a lesson to me. I shouldn't try to do things on the fly. All right, it's okay. So one of our students said, I am very thankful for my experiences with CFL at Hope College. Over the last 2 years, my time as a student consultant has been incredibly impactful on my development and as a professional. Consulting for local small businesses and giving back to the community has made my time at Hope all the more meaningful. CFL at Hope College empowers students to be servant leaders through real-world application using critical thinking to solve problems. This opportunity has been a great example of the emphasis Hope College has on its students' development. So that was, I just got that, so I just thought I had to share that and read it. One other thing that we're doing that I think also highlights this push to help students learn how to collaborate and innovate is an exciting program that was just started through the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. The program's called Building Bridges Through Education. And the purpose is of this program is to connect our Latinx students with large organizations in the area to do learning projects, mentoring, internships, and ultimately lead to full-time positions in these organizations. So a few weeks ago, I attended a presentation. It was led by one of our Hope students talking about a project that she did with the support of Steelcase related to design thinking in the healthcare world. So these programs, I just think this is so much fun, watching our students do these things, connect with others out there in the real world for various projects. All right, the third theme I want to talk about is solving complex problems with a global mindset. So this is something that is just going to continue to be more important. We know that 95% of the world's consumers live outside of the United States. Approximately 50% of the profits of the companies on the S&P 500 come from overseas. So this is something that, as you can also see here by this stat here on the slide, that critical thinking, problem solving, global multicultural fluency are recognized as part of the top 8 competencies in demand by employers. So this is something we're paying attention to as what are employers looking for and how should students get ready for this. Part of the way that we do that as a college is a few different ways. So first of all, emphasizing the importance of learning other languages. There are other colleges that are backing off on that. At Hope, we have just rewritten our core curriculum, and we're doubling down on continuing to require learning another language as a part of the Hope experience. In addition, studying abroad has been an emphasis at Hope College, but part of the challenge has been for some majors, it's difficult to work that in to your 4-year experience. So we're looking for new ways to do that. And one example is engineering. Next summer, we're looking forward to having our first group of students study in Berlin, Germany for 6 weeks and take an engineering class as well as a German language class. And this is something that's not been an option for engineering students at Hope. And my son is one of them, and he's really excited about it, as are a lot of his friends and people he's talked to. So I just love that we're doing things like this. And then over the past year, there's been a lot of emphasis and increased focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion at Hope College through various programs and events that have been available to our students. Out of our office at the Boerchter Center, we're also providing additional learning and resources to our students. We've had workshops on diversity in the workplace, was one we did recently. Another one that we had last fall was about careers in diplomacy and international relations, where we had alumni from literally all over the world were a part of this workshop for our students. And this screenshot here, this is a photo of basically a seminar that a colleague of mine and I put on for our seniors who are about to graduate in a week and a half. As they get ready to go into the world, what are things they need to be thinking about when it comes to diversity and having a global mindset? In addition to that, we as an office have been focusing on critical thinking through a digital badge program. And we've been working with an organization out of Washington, D.C. called Education Design Lab that is really starting to raise some awareness and some visibility on different critical skills, key skills such as critical thinking. And we've been working with them to put together a program for our students. It's kind of an extracurricular learning module that our students have taken part of over the past 3 years. Looking forward, we're going to embed this in some of the classes within our philosophy department as well, because there's some very natural connections in terms of critical thinking and the classes that our students take. The fourth thing I'll mention about the future of work is being uniquely human in an AI world. So this is something that we hear a lot about this these days, certainly, artificial intelligence. And it's becoming more and more reality. Now, if your first thought on that is, does that mean we need to actually make all of the students at Hope College major in computer science and learn how to be coders and software developers? I could see how that could be a first thought. But actually, we would happily do that more. I mean, I think that is definitely a needed area where students that study those things are going to certainly have job opportunities. One of the things I would say, though, is that the reality is, as the world becomes increasingly automated, the workforce is going to need leaders who are especially human. So let me talk this through with an example for a second. In 1970, the ATM was invented and put out there. And if you remember how that rolled out, I mean, there was maybe a fear like, oh my gosh, then we're not going to need any tellers. We're not going to have any bank tellers. Well, we all know that we still have bank tellers. And I've seen one estimate that it's in the 45 years since the ATM came out, we've increased bank tellers in our country by almost doubling. So what does that mean? Well, what it's meant is that bank tellers are less cash handlers and more salespeople on the other services and products that banks offer. And so as this slide shows, there are jobs at risk of becoming replaced by artificial intelligence. And you can see the list here and the probability that the University of Oxford has mentioned as the chances of that happening. And I think overall, the estimate I've seen is that nearly 50% of jobs will ultimately be susceptible to full machine automation. But with that being the case, there's also been noted that the fields with the strongest wage growth and employment growth are those jobs that do require some technical knowledge, the STEM skills, but also the humanities skills. So as I look at that, I think there's a couple of implications here for Hope. Number one, we do need to help our students learn more about things such as data analytics and technology. I think this is going to be something that as much as we can do for our students, it'll only help them. One cool thing that's just starting now is a minor in data analytics. This will be a perfect match for any major. This will be a great thing. I'll certainly encourage students to look at this as a minor in data analytics. There's classes that students are taking already right now in machine learning, as well as the philosophy of technology, connecting that humanity and technology and really understanding that. So that's on the technology and the automation side, but I also want to now talk about that being uniquely human and how are we doing that at Hope College. One thing I'm actually excited about, I mentioned we're introducing a new curriculum for our general education, our new core curriculum. And one of the things that we're embedding into that is helping our students learn about our virtues of public discourse, or in other words, how to have a civil, respectful conversation with someone that you disagree with. What an amazing skill that our world needs so much right now. I'm so looking forward to that just becoming a part of the Hope experience. And then in terms of the Boerter Center, there's some things I'll just add on to that as we're teaching our students to communicate and connect and have better relational skills, we're focusing a lot on how do you teach students to communicate without technology, right? This is the way they communicate. So we need to help students communicate and build those skills in a different way, in the old-fashioned way, if you will, the uniquely human way. So we're doing things such as mentoring workshops. This is a photo here from a little over a year ago. We had a workshop where we taught students the importance of building relationships and finding a mentor for multiple aspects of their lives. We also run regular events, I mentioned a little bit earlier, in terms of job shadowing, formal job shadowing, where students go and they spend a day or two in the place of work of one of our alumni or friends of the college, spend a day, get a feel in person. Another thing that we do is networking events. We go to major cities within driving distance, and we take a busload of students to meet with alumni that live and work there and talk about their careers, teach students how to introduce themselves, interact with each other, start up a conversation with a stranger. So these are such important skills that we're doing. Those two things I do have to share. We did have to pause on networking events and formal job shadowing for this past year, as you can imagine, for obvious reasons. But we are so excited to get those going again as we start up again this fall with the next school year. The last thing I want to talk about is the last theme is developing the practice of lifelong learning. From the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average college graduate will have 10 different jobs before the age of 40. And over the next 5 years, a third of our workforce will transfer not just to a new job, but to a whole new occupation. So how in the world do you do this when the only education that you formally get is the years you spent in grade school and in 4 years of college? How do you keep up with that? This is something that and this is why the importance of lifelong learning and continuous learning is going to be needed to make all of this happen. This graph fascinated me when I first saw it. I just assumed that the number of programs that are out there that provide different kinds of credentials, I assumed that colleges and universities were the biggest slice of the pie. Well, it accounts for less than a third. The other ones on here are digital badges, post-secondary certificates, coding boot camps. That's a fascinating topic, by the way. For another day, I'll talk about that. But then licenses and apprenticeships. So these are things that are out there and that are becoming more and more available. So what does this mean for Hope? Well, when it comes to lifelong learning, hey, you've been leading the way for decades, right? Like this is HASP, right? So we've been doing this for a long time, and you're living it right now, which I think this is the coolest thing. So Hope College, we're doing some great stuff already just with HASP. The other thing I would say, certainly with Hope, is that our students have an advantage of being at a liberal arts college. Our core curriculum requires that they take classes in different disciplines, and that forces our students to learn how to learn and to learn from different areas of life. That is going to absolutely help them throughout these 10 job changes before the age of 40. In addition to that, the thing that always I enjoy seeing and when I talk to students is the different unique combinations of majors and minors that our students choose to put together. Engineering and Mandarin, business and engineering, dance and psychology. They do such cool things. And this is going to absolutely help them to be lifelong learners throughout their life. One other cool thing that's coming very soon is Career North. This is a program that is just starting now. It's online learning modules being made available to our alumni. And it's a part of us responding to our alumni and their desire for ongoing professional development. At the Borger Center, there's something new that we just started this last year. I'm actually really excited about this as well. We're helping our students explore some of those other forms of credentials that I showed you on the previous slide. Specifically, we launched last May a certificate program in Tableau. Tableau is a data analytics and visualization software platform that is used in a wide variety of organizations and a wide variety of disciplines. And we covered this for our students with a generous donation. We were able to cover the cost of this to make this available to our students so they could earn this badge. It required about 40 to 50 hours of self-paced training. But we had a group of students go through it last May. We did it again in December, and we're doing it again this May. We're deliberately staggering this so we're not competing with the normal semester classes. But what I love about this, oh, and by the way, so this May, we're also offering a certification in Salesforce, which is the world's largest customer relationship management software platform. What I love about this is that while our students are absolutely getting this well-rounded liberal arts education, they're also getting a credential that will help them land that first job. It'll boost their resume, get them noticed, and it'll help them just jump into the first step of their career, which often can be a difficult step to jump into. One of the things that I'm showing here on the screen is a screenshot from our kickoff session last May. But then in the middle there is a post that one of our students who completed it, he posted this on LinkedIn and basically was bragging about his accomplishment, which is exactly what I want to happen. I love that so much. That's exactly what I want students to do, brag about it on LinkedIn and on their resume as well. So these are the things that are just exciting to me about the future of work. And I just have to say, it's a good time to be at Hope, and I'm excited to be part of all of the initiatives I just mentioned. But one of the other really exciting things that we're doing right now is we're doing a major renovation project in the DeWitt Center to make a bold statement that Hope College is fully committed to prepare students for the future of work. Now, if you know our building, if you can think back the last time you may have been in there, the lower level of DeWitt is the former Kletz. That's been vacant for the past 3 or 4 years. And it's the ideal spot, frankly, for us to combine the work of the Borchter Center, the Office of Alumni and Family Engagement, and the Center for Leadership, because our 3 offices have audiences that can connect and overlap and integrate in such interesting ways for the benefit of our students. Alumni, employers, students, the things that we can do together, we're really excited about, and we're going to call this new place the home for the hub. We're going to come up with a good name for it, for the future of work. So I'm going to do a fly through right now. I'm going to show a quick video, which is a fly through of this space with some of the 3D renderings that we just got last week from our architect. And it may come across as a little choppy, but just imagine for me, if you will, a central location on campus in a high traffic area. Our space would be welcoming and easy to find for our guests and employers. Our CFL student consulting teams will come together to work on their projects and learn skills of collaboration and innovation. Credentialing programs will be featured as a way to build technical skills and a first step in developing the practice of lifelong learning. And then as we go down and dive deeper and move down in the space, we can engage in other aspects of mentoring, where students can learn to develop those uniquely human skills for thriving in an AI world. We'll continue to do one-on-one conversations with students as they explore their calling and their passions for doing well by doing good. And our students will have a virtual presence with alumni and friends from all over the world, learning how they solve complex problems with a global mindset. So we are in the beginning stages of fundraising for this renovation, and we are looking forward to bringing these designs to life. This is going to be a lot of fun for us to see a new vision for this space on campus and put these offices together to do some fun things. So as we continue ahead, here's a question that I think is an important one that I just want to be thinking about is, how do we stay on top of the future of work? What's the future? Are we going to just continue to keep looking forward and know this? Well, so one thing that has undoubtedly had an impact has been the pandemic. And it's actually hard to know in some ways what this means for the future of work. You've heard, just as I have, some companies, they are moving permanently to work from home arrangements. And there's also companies that are eagerly returning to physical spaces because they're banking on the value of that in-person working relationships. So how's this going to play out? Which way is going to be better? If our students are graduating, going into jobs where they're working from home a lot, then how do we help them build different competencies, new competencies they would need to understand the dynamics of the organization they work with and build relationships? This is going to be a really interesting world that we're walking into, and we want to try to stay on top of that. And one way that we're going to do that is through an employer advisory council that we just started that is going to be a group for us, for the college, to stay in touch, keep our ear to the ground on what's going on in the workforce. We've asked HR leaders from a variety, actually a pretty diverse variety of organizations, to come be our advisors and to let us know what skills they're looking for and what changes they see coming. And then as we go, Hope College and the Borchter Center, we'll just keep listening, we'll keep learning, we'll keep adjusting, because ultimately our goal is to best support our students as they prepare to lead us for the future. All right, I will stop here, and I'd love to chat and take some questions. These are some ways that you can get in touch with us. Right here, you can see email, website, the Hope College Orator Center Facebook page is also a very active place. You can be staying on top of the things that we're doing. And if you'd love to chat with me personally about anything I've talked today, I would love to do that. Feel free to just email me at careers@hope.edu. That's an easy one to remember, so that's why I thought I'd throw that out. All right,
Awesome.
I will stop there and stop sharing, and be happy to answer any questions that may have come up.
Great. I will share a couple that came into the chat while you were talking, and then we'll open it up to the group. The first one is actually a question from David. It's a two-part question. Part A is, do you see very many students who remain just completely mystified and clueless about what their own passions are, or even what that means? And then the second part of that question is, if you can tell us anything about the 3 to 6% of graduates not employed.
Okay, so do we have students that are mystified, that are just not sure, like what their calling is in life? Yeah, that's I would love to say that every single student walks out of Hope on graduation day with their diploma and they know exactly what they're going to do. And it's not the case for everybody. And in some ways, you know, that is part of the conversation we have with our students, is that I think probably a bigger issue is the pressure that I think some students have on themselves to think that they have to figure it out. Freshman year, first semester, they've got to figure out, what am I going to do with my life? And I think, you know, when I got into this job, I started to notice my own language and how I talk to young people, and realizing that just by the questions I've asked, oh, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to major in? What are you going to do with that? Right? I was probably putting too much pressure on an 18-year-old to have the rest of their life planned out. So as the main thing that I guess the way I would answer that is, you know, how do we work with that? How do we work with that kind of student? That part of our focus and the process that we teach students is discernment, preparation, and pursuit. And George kind of mentioned those right at the beginning. And this is something that we see as a cycle, right? You're going to go through this at college, but then 5 years into your career, you may feel, I'm feeling called and do a different thing. So I want them to have those practices that they learned at Hope of discernment, preparation, and pursuit in their mind, so that they can, like, okay, well, I remember at Hope, I was really introspective and I did some things and I talked to people, I talked to mentors to find out maybe what I'm feeling called to do. So it's the practices that we hope to teach, not necessarily because we want them to have all the answers by the time they're 22, but because we want them to know the process that they can use to continue to get those answers throughout their lives. So thank you for that. That was a really good question. And then the next one, what about the other 3 to 6% of students that
Not
don't
employed, right? Are there any,
Yeah.
and then the question is, are there any lessons to be learned from their plight?
from their plight? Yeah, one of the things that I am really eager to do, we get that data, we do this survey 6 months after graduation, of course. And in that time between graduation, there are students that maybe they don't have one, but they eventually get something. The other thing I'm always sensitive to, in addition to students that aren't employed, are the students that are employed, but maybe they're not employed in a job which their bachelor's degree compared them to do. So these are the things that I want to do everything possible I can to really try to understand what those situations were. We have some information that comes in from our surveys that we do with that, and the more that I can learn about those students, and even last year with the class of 2020, as they graduated in May, we knew that it was going to be really tough last year. So we were deliberately reaching out all summer last year and trying to connect with these students. Hey, how you doing? How can we help? We're here to help. Let's talk about some opportunities. I'm getting job leads from an alum at Fidelity, Comply at Fidelity. We know there's some leads there. So I think there's things that we're looking to do, and would love to make that number as small as possible.
Great, thanks. I'm going to skip the next question because I want to talk about that at the end. But another one is, what are you doing, or are you doing anything to prepare students to develop habits to be financially successful? This seems especially challenging considering many students leave school with significant debt.
I would love to do more in that area, to be quite frank. We do have, this past year, we did a program for students on financial management, kind of personal finance not necessarily investments, but we had Doug Iverson, one of our fantastic professors from the business department, talk about personal finances and good practices and habits there. This is something we do hear it from our alumni and from our students they're looking for. I really want to do more with that. And so that would be something I would have to answer that, yeah, let's do more with that. We could do a lot more.
Definitely. It's making me smile because I have my eldest child who's very financially responsible, and then a middle child who's not at all. So, and she's here at Hope, so I better tell her to sign up for that. Okay, let's see. What services can you provide for older alums who remain in the workforce but seek help in placement possibilities?
Yeah, that's one of our, I guess it's something that we don't advertise a lot, but we probably should start advertising more, is that we are here for alumni. We are, and we've been doing it, meeting with alumni for years. I mean, my office, even before I came, would always respond positively to an alum who reaches out and says, hey, I'm 20 years into my career or more, and I think I want to do a change. And so can you help me figure that out? So that's a conversation that involves, again, some discernment, but then also some practical advice, maybe on updating a resume or who to connect with for some networking. So we are happy. We love doing that with alumni. Our office over the past 3 years has become even closer and tighter with the Office of Alumni and Family Engagement. Scott Travis out of that office. We're very close in terms of overlapping work that we do between our offices. And so that's something that we have talked about, and we can continue to make a bigger deal about, that it's available. But it is always available right now. If anyone that you know wants to talk to us, we'd be happy to talk.
Awesome. Next one is, what do you see the prospects for 2021 grads for employment compared to previous classes?
Yeah, this is so interesting. Okay, so the class of 2021, what's the story there? Now you've cut me off, Kim, if I rattle on too much here, because this is, I mean, I could go on. But what's interesting right now, as you see in our economy, right, there are actually a lot of organizations are struggling to find workers. They can't fill their jobs. It's really bad right now in so many different places. And I talk to friends who are HR managers, and they're struggling to attract workers. Now, a lot of those jobs that I'm talking about that they're struggling with are ones that don't require a bachelor's degree. So that's kind of going on, right? That's going on right now in the job market. In our system that we use called Handshake, which has job postings tailored toward college grads, so a lot of entry-level postings, the number of postings in the month of March and April have skyrocketed way above January and February, and even above levels pre-pandemic. So a huge number of jobs are posted out there right now. So at that, based on that, I'm optimistic. And it's so hard to have a finger on a pulse right now with students, because it's just anecdotes that when we hear a student that's landed a job, we hear the anecdotes. I don't have a dashboard that shows every single student at the college and if they have a job or not. I want one. Kim, maybe you can help me figure out how to get one. I don't know how to get one of those, but I would love to have that. So we've got anecdotes. The numbers of postings look really good. And then at the same time, as I see that, there's an article over on Saturday in the Wall Street Journal that said this is going to be a really tough job market for the class of 21 because they're competing with the class of 2020. So that's what I know. That's what I've read and seen at this point. I think I'm leaning more on the optimistic side, though.
Good. I think this next question is related to what the questions that you were asking that you realized maybe you shouldn't be asking that way. So this person wants to know, what questions do you suggest we ask young people about their future and the future of work?
Yeah. I would ask questions. So in terms of questions for young people, I think I would focus on questions that start to get them thinking about themselves. So self-awareness questions, questions that can really start to get their head in the place of understanding, how am I wired? What am I good at? What are the gifts that I can bring to the world? So a question such as like, oh, what kind of work sounds exciting to you? Or what kinds of things are you looking forward to the future around career possibilities? What sounds interesting? Instead of what are you going to be, like what's appealing to you? What are some things that you're curious about? I think that's exactly the mindset I want students to come into college with, is a curious mindset. And during that college experience, we'll help them line up without the assessments we do. We'll help them line up the things that they have talents in, their gifts, line up that with things that they're interested in, just sound really interesting, and line that up with professions that will give you a paycheck. And then when you start to kind of see all that go all the way through, then I think we're onto something. And that's kind of what I like about the work that we do is we try to explore that with our students. So questions that go along those lines. And then was there a second part to that as well?
No,
Okay.
that's it. That's
All right.
helpful. Thank you. And then I love this question. Thank you, Ben Hancock, for asking this question. And that is, are there any roles that HASS members could play to further your mission and be a service to our students?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is we do have a platform called the Hope College Connection. And I'm not sure if that's been something that that Kim has been shared, and I can certainly provide more information. It's essentially a private LinkedIn network for Hope students, and then as well as alumni and parents and special friends of the college. And I would consider everyone in HASP, whether you're an alum or not, I consider you part of that, where we are inviting you. We would love to have you kind of put in your profile and share, hey, here's my background, here's the work that I did in my career, and here are the things that I would be open for. And these are things like, would you be willing to help a student with a career conversation? Would you be willing to help an alum with a career direction question, right? And then we're seeing students reaching out to alumni through this platform just for advice. I've had even graduates reach out to me, a 2015 graduate who saw what I did in my career prior to coming to Hope College, and she wanted to talk about that. So she reached out and connected with me. We ended up having a phone conversation. I ended up seeing a job posting at Spectrum Health that fits perfectly what she wants to do, connected her with a hiring manager. I mean, so this is what happens in situations like this, that this platform, I think, is probably a really good way just to get started. And then as we go into that more and do more in-person events, I think it'd be a lot of fun to think of some creative things that we could do in addition.
That would be great. Yeah, definitely share that with me and I'll get it out to the membership if they want to get registered on that. It'd be awesome.
Perfect.
I think that's all of the questions. I'll review a minute in the chat, but if any of the rest of you out there would like to unmute yourself to make a comment or question, please feel free to do so while I double check.
I wanted to make a comment regarding people that change their mind about their jobs and that, and the flow of it. My daughter went to college, got her degree, went on to postgraduate studies, got a profession as an educator, first in high school, then in college. I saw her, stood in and watched her in her teaching profession, and she had such a connection with her students and that. And then she got to be close to 40 years old, and she had changed relationships, and she became involved and finally married a gentleman who was into interpersonal conference, help conferencing. And she picked up a college course as she was teaching on that, and she is now doing counseling herself. So life is full of changes, and it's possible.
Oh, what a great story. Thank you for sharing.
This is Judy Zeilman. I have a story that connects the Borchters years ago and myself at Hope College. I'm not a graduate of Hope College. My husband and my 2 children are, but I was a volunteer in the community, and my kids were going to both be in college, and my daughter had taken the career planning class that Adar was the instructor back then. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I was a registered nurse, but just doing volunteer work all those years, and I didn't think it was all that important. But I took this career planning class that Lynette had suggested, and she had taken it, and found out that I was a leader. I had no idea about that. And I ended up, because of that experience, having enough confidence to apply for a job with Hospice of Holland. And it was a brand new organization back then. And actually, Sibylla Borchter was the director they were needing a replacement for. And so this all connects today as I'm listening with this. I'm so grateful for that career planning class that I had that showed me at early 40s that I was a leader and I could do that kind of work. And George and Sibylla were going to be moving out of the area, so they needed a replacement for her. And I had that job for 21 years, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful career. So I applaud you and the Borchters, especially, for setting up this center, because back then I think it was a class. I don't know what kind of other support Hope had, for the students, but it was an evening class, and I'm so grateful. So congratulations, George and Sibylla. It's so nice to see you this morning and hear this story of the growth.
Thank you very much, Judy. About 5 or 6 years ago, our youngest son, who was on our board, approached our board of directors and said, instead of we as sons standing around with a picture of the Hope College president saying, our parents really appreciated what Hope College did for us and our family, and we want to do whatever it is, fill in the blank, in honor and memory of them. Our son said, why don't we just do it now? And so our company started this process of funding the Borchter Center and is committed to do it for a long time. In fact, a really long time. And after hearing Sean speak clearly this morning, I am absolutely convinced we got our money's worth. Hope College has the right person, and it's doing the right thing. And it is important to do good by doing the right thing.
Thanks, Sean.
And so thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words.
Another comment I'd like to make, Sean, I compliment you on the book Designing Your Life, I think is what it's called. I mean, I would draw a parallel. If you look at those of us that are in HASP, and you look at the cycle or the journey that we're all on, we spend 4 years in college, then we spend 50 years in work, and then we look at the next, our next life, our second life, our encore career or whatever it is, to keep that passion so we have a reason to get up in the morning. So we're all searching for that. So in many respects, we can really appreciate the work you're doing at two levels. One, being a part of HASP, but the other, because if you look at those that are approaching or have recently retired, we're facing those same questions as the 18 to 22-year-olds. Okay. And it's not lost on me. And certainly if we look at resources like Designing Your Life or the questions that you're asking, I don't think 96% of HASP members can say, we know what we want to do with the rest of our lives. We're reinventing that. We're looking at the new Jetsons about what does it look like moving forward. So I think it would be an interesting program at some point to think about for those of us that are looking at our second life or our encore, whatever encore means, to be asking ourselves those same questions so that we're prepared for the next 50 years.
So thank you for that comment, Ben. And what it makes me think is I'm imagining what if we did a workshop just on that book, right?
Designing Your Life. It's a great book.
And
so
then
relevant.
Open that up to HASP members, open it up to alumni, others, right? And I mean, parents of our Hope students, right? This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, love it. Anyone else?
Could you repeat the name of the book again and the author?
The book is Designing Your Life, and the author is it's two people. Ben, I don't know if you know off the top of your head. I'd have to look it up. I think they're from Stanford.
Bill Burnett and Dale Evans.
There you go.
Thank you.
How much do you depend on the tests, the profile tests and so forth, in helping students discover what they're good at or discover what they want to do? When I was younger, that testing was very important. I don't know how much you still use that method. I'm just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, great question. So we use a couple of different assessments. One is basically mandatory. And what we do is the summer before students arrive on campus as freshmen, we send them a link to do the Clifton Strengths Assessment, also called Strengths Quest, also called Strengths Finder in the corporate world. But it identifies your top 5 personality traits. And so pretty much all students end up doing that because they just are told this, it's mandatory. And then that becomes a part of the conversation in their first year seminar class. And so that is kind of a standard thing. It really just builds a lot of self-awareness. You know, students look at this like, I never thought of myself as a ranger or a connector, some of the different strengths that are identified. The other main tool we use for assessments is called Pathway U. And that is, it's not a mandatory thing. It's more on a voluntary basis. And this one, he's into interests, workplace preferences, and values, and then connects those with different career fields, kind of a strong match, weak match, that kind of a thing. So those are all available, you know, to any student who wants to do it. They can just do that whenever they want. And then I think the thing that we're always thoughtful to make sure we talk about or to add on is that, you know, sometimes just seeing an assessment by itself and looking at the results, so what, right there, for some students, there may not be anything that just connects with them at that moment, which is why we have members of our staff that are certified on those assessments to be able to sit down for a one-on-one and say, here's what this probably means. You say you want to be a teacher, but yet most people that go into teaching don't have any of those 5 strengths that you have. Let's talk about that. So that's the kind of thing.
So it's a combination of person-to-person input and these tests.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, it is 10:40, so I know some of you may have other things to do, other places to get to. Sean probably does too. But if we could give him a little virtual round of applause. It was a great presentation this morning. And we have multiple comments in the chat. Sean, thanking you for that and saying how happy everyone is that Hope is offering this and for your work. So we are very grateful for that. Let's see, Barbara or George or Claudia, do either of you have anything else you want to say?
Only thank you for being attentive to listening to someone who we think really is making a difference to the lives of students at Hope College.
Thanks, George.
I'd like to thank you, George, and Sean for bringing us a very interesting topic. And I think it shows all of us the great work that is happening right here on Hope's campus. And how fortunate all of us in our lifelong learning are able to continue to be a part of it and to learn. So thank you very, very much. A well-received program. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Good to see you all. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Sean.